Deconverted Man here. Informal logic is something that we should be using more than we are. And I've been noticing a disturbing trend on Google Plus and Facebook and Twitter and other places where people are just discarding logic in favor of promoting whatever it is that they think is true. Now, when confronted with the inability to prove something, I will say, okay, I withdraw that. I'm now skeptical about that, and that's, this is just my feeling, and I could be wrong. That's great for me, but what about them? All of them out there in the internet world, and the real world, for that matter, which I guess is connected to whatever. There's a number of examples, but I've decided to pick a couple to address. This meme that, it's an old meme, I suppose, but it's been circulating around. Real men don't hit women. Which, if you know informal logic, you'll be able to identify as No True Scotsman! Da, 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 da. Real men X. Real men lift weights. Real men eat Cheerios. Insert blank here. There's no such thing as real men blank. Or real men don't blank. This is the No True Scotsman in a nutshell. You are a man if you declare yourself a man, especially with all the transgender stuff in today's day and age. Gender is more fluid than we have thought in the past. It's not a simple black and white of guy and girl. It's more complicated and nuanced than that, and so now we're seeing new terms come out for it, which can be annoying and frustrating, and also, I suppose, can be liberating for some. I'm a cis-ish white male. I'm not exactly cis, but I guess I am because I identify as my gender, but I'm also kind of bi, so maybe I'm not. I don't know. I gave up caring about the labels. The only label I really care is skeptic. There you go. But labels can be helpful or beneficial or useful, so we use them. So you're a real man if you're a man, and you are real in the real world and not just a animated man, because then you would not be a real man, you would be an animated man in some cartoon or animation from Japan or something. Then I guess you could say, hey, that animated Mario that hit Peach, totally not a real man. But not because he hit Peach, but because he's not really real. So the idea underlying that is, well, we want to promote the idea that hitting a woman is bad. Then just say that. Forget about the whole man context. Just say, don't hit people. Forget about the woman context, too. Just don't hit people. Violence is bad. How about that? That would be far more simplistic in nature. People already know that violence is bad and that hitting people is bad. But we do it. Men hit women, women hit men, men hit men, women hit women. Kids hit parents, parents hit kids, and so on and so forth. Well, why do we hit anybody at all? It goes into psychology, it goes into our primitive instinct, it goes into a lot of complex things that cannot be resolved with a bumper sticker, which is what memes are on the internet. They're bumper stickers supporting your favorite candidate on the back of your car, but it's on the internet. That's essentially, it's a bumper sticker philosophy. It's, vote for this person because they like what I like. Don't do this because I don't like when people do that. And I'm not going to have a complex, nuanced discussion because my picture can't convey all that. Well, it could, but that's a lot of work. It's just easier to find a picture that says real men don't hit women and put that up and make everyone share it, or they're a bad person, or shame people into sharing it, or they're not my friend anymore. If you don't agree with this, then you're just wrong. Really? Okay, well, you know what? I don't agree, and I don't want to share your stupid meme, and I guess you can call me wrong, even though I'm not wrong, and I guess we're not friends anymore, because that was totally a reasonable reaction to that. Boy, this escalated quickly. You didn't share my picture. You're not my friend. You disagreed with me. Oh no. Words. You said words at me. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. So the no true Scotsman fallacy. Why in the world are we using this? Just say violence is bad. Promote peace, or promote well-being, or boost mental research into why we are violent, or I don't know anything but this. Find a better meme that better fixes the underlying causes of the problem that you're actually trying to address. And in the end, it's a meme, so it's not going to convey that much information anyways, so it's only going to be kind of like an advertisement for the thing that you like anyways. But if you're going to advertise for something, don't use logical fallacies to do it. That brings me to the next thing of my example, which is privilege. Usually white privilege, because being white, you automatically have some sort of advantage over everyone else. Of course, the term privilege is come mostly into popular use because of feminists and also social justice warriors, and I can't really tell the two apart hardly anymore. It's such a difficult line to figure out. It's like whatever. But I said, because I do, prove it. Where's your empirical evidence? Where's the data points? Where's the test? Where's the logical argument? Personal experience was given back. Personal experience. I've just experienced this. I've seen it. So that makes it true. No, that's not how. No. Look, if you're poor no matter what color you are. If you're hard up for a job, you're hard up for a job no matter what color you are. Well, but it's easier to get a job as a white person. Really? Do you have data to support that? Now, there's been studies done. There was a study I know of that studied names, and they submitted identical resumes to a number of different companies, and some had average names on the bell curve, like Matt and Sam and John and, whatever, names that you've heard a million times. Samantha or Betty or whatever. All the most common use names. And then, in contrast, on the other resumes that were identical in every way except for the name itself was like Jaquil and Shemitha and Zelda or whatever. Zelda. Dun dun da 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 da. Anyways, so not common names. You might say ethnic names, but really just uncommon names. And the common names got calls back in a higher frequency and more often than the uncommon names, which doesn't necessarily show racism, but what it does show is some sort of automatic subconscious preference for things that we're used to. So a unique name, and there are people called unique, which isn't very unique, might hamper your ability to get a job, not because of your race, but because your name isn't a common name, and psychologically people are predispositioned to choosing names that are common. Change your name. Put a different name. Put your name, your first name, as a common name, and that's your nickname, also known as this nickname, and then your real name, because you have to put your real name. Maybe that would work. I don't know. Well, that's a new study to do. If you want to do a study on the idea that it's easier for a person of a certain color to get a job, then you hire an actor, or several actors actually, because you want a high data point, to apply at different companies, and it's going to have to be a wide range of companies, and that these actors and actresses are going to have the same exact answers to the questions asked in every interview, and then you can show whether or not that company has a preference for one race over the other, and you can demonstrate that with your test, because your test has yielded data. If you don't have that, then you don't have anything. And people go, oh, well, what about the past? The fact that these minorities of all sorts have been oppressed by the white people. We're not talking about that, though. We're talking about the here and now, and we're talking about the idea that being one color automatically gives you some advantage, some privilege. I don't know why even call it that. Just call it an advantage, because that's really what it is. There is no privilege. What the bleep does that term mean? Some advantage over someone else. And there's been studies already done, so just go find those studies and go, here's your study. Bam, 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 bam. There, I proved my point. Okay, hey, you know what? You proved your point. You actually cared enough about this subject to prove your point. If you don't want to prove your point, then withdraw your point. And don't be surprised that I'm going to be skeptical about your point. The rules of logic don't give me any choice. And there's other examples. There's plenty of other examples. I go after religion a lot. But I'm open to going against anything that has illogic in it, including a lot of the feminist stuff that we see, but it's just so toxic and not fun to go over that area. It is wading through muck, and I just don't enjoy it. We have blind sides. People who really think something's true tend to be unwilling and or unable to prove that it's true. And they're unable or unwilling to admit that it might not be true, or they might not be willing to investigate it. Far too often I see people go, Google it, Google this, Google that, Google. No, you do that. You go find the thing that you wanted to prove is true. I'm not going to do that for you. You said X was true. I said prove it. Now you're telling me to go Google it. Nope, conversation's over. It's not true. I don't believe it. End of story. I'm not going to do the research for you. That's not how things work. Oh, I've had this. Everyone everywhere in my entire life has always treated me badly. Well, I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean anything as far as proof. That doesn't prove anything. But I'm not lying. It doesn't matter. It's not data. It's just not how it works. Informal logic doesn't stop working because of your emotions. And I personally will not stop demanding people use logic because you believe something is true. And you might be right. These examples, you might say, oh, I'm going to hammer on Deconverted Man for these examples. Well, Great, fine. You better have the empirical evidence. You better have the data. It better be from reliable sources. And you better present it within a logically coherent structure or argument. If you don't, then I'm going to be skeptical. And even if you do, I'm still going to ask questions, because we have to be critical of everything to make sure that it's true. And if you really want to convince somebody, that's a lot of work to do. And you might just throw up your arms and say, forget it. It's impossible. Nothing's going to convince you. No, not true. Just an adequate argument and data will. But you keep asking these questions. Yes, because I want to learn more. Well, you look into it. I'm looking into it. You're helping. Well, I'm doing all the work. Yeah, because you're the teacher now. So either you really care about the subject and you want to teach, or you don't. I want to teach informal logic. I'll spend that time and energy to do that. But informal logic is a set of rules that are descriptive rules. They just are. And modus ponens just is. That's just how it works. It's akin to mathematics. Whereas something more subjective, like the social things that we think are out there, like matriarchy, patriarchy, and whatever else, these are constructs in our brain, and that's probably the only place they really exist. And demonstrating that that thing is more than just a construct in the brain would require an awful lot of work. Whereas something easier like mathematics or informal logic, it's just true because that's just how it works. Other things aren't that way. I have an easy thing to teach in a sense, because my thing that I want to teach is a just so. It's axiomatic. It's true because of the tautology of it. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, that's your thing. And it's gonna not necessarily be as easy to teach as my thing is. But we need to understand that when we talk to each other about things, and we put up these memes, and we say these things, that the underlying thing that we want to promote, whatever that is, that's the thing that we have to present each other with. If you want to change minds, and if you want to grow your network, and you want to do so not based on emotion and illogic, because what you'll wind up with is nothing more than a new religion. If that's what you're going for, well, okay, I can't stop you from doing that. But that's kind of why we see so much badness and toxicity coming from these groups that are utilizing these systems. What happened with Black Lives Matter? They took a bad idea and then got taken over by the Panthers. Duh! It was a bad idea. Let's get a focus on the fact that a lot of cops are killing black people. Let's just get a focus that the cops are killing people. That's the underlying... What's the underlying cause? Why are cops killing people? Is it their training? Is it the fact that they have an internal investigation and we should have another agency that isn't them investigate them, and that should be a private firm or something? To be more accountable, so that what can really solve that problem? It's far more complex than just holding up a sign saying, "Hey, stop killing us." But yet that's the response that people do. That's not logical. That's pure emotion. Reactionary response. Not intellectual, thought out response. Look at the past. We had brilliant speakers like Martin Luther King Jr., who I don't agree with on the faith part, but he used that to rally people behind a well thought out idea, using peace to get the ends. You also have Malcolm X. And we're seeing more Malcolm X than Martin Luther King Jr. Malcolm X got results, but not the same results. Violence can achieve your ends, but only temporarily and usually at a significant cost of life and property and welfare. And it can often turn more people against you than for you. Peace seems to work. It takes longer sometimes, but it does pay off because more people join your cause. That's intellect versus brawn. Might makes right temporarily, but intellect wins the long run. And so I would continue to implore people to learn informal logic and to utilize it. To use intellect to support whatever cause you believe in. And to stop expecting people to just believe or accept what you say. And to start supporting it with good argumentations and data. And if you will not or cannot, then we have to be skeptical of your conclusions.